You're watching Man Coverage with Nate Schmidt and James Bonneville on National Streaming Sports.
Good morning, everyone. It is April 13, 2025. This is Man Coverage, Knoxville, Nate, and James P. Bonneville coming at you live. We are talking college football. We are talking spring football. We are talking, transfer portal as it relates to college football, as that is part of our world. We are talking money, as that's what college football is about these days. And we are back after a little hiatus. James, how you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm good. I'm just, man, it's like every freaking day there's just a new story breaking on something. So it's just freaking crazy. So let's get at it.
Yeah, man, it's pretty nuts out here. And we just wanted to take a moment and thank the National Streaming Sports Network that brings our show to life. We also want to thank our sponsors, SeatGeek. Please go to SeatGeek.com. Use promo code NSS. Get $20 off your next ticket purchase. And if you are ready to place a wager, please go to betus.com and use America's trusted sports book. So I think we need to start right here in Knoxville, Tennessee, where the Tennessee Volunteers had their spring game yesterday. However, the spring game was not really what people were talking about. Let's just be honest, James. Their quarterback is jetting out, and we started hearing noise about this on Friday, talking about negotiations. Pretty much every year, these NIL deals are renegotiated. It's a one-year contract, essentially. That's why everybody hits the portal every year, because they're looking for a better deal. So, I understand all of that, but let's be, frank here. Nico Iamaleava got a $8.6 million NIL deal to come to Tennessee before he had ever thrown a pass. This guy has played good at times. He's been a decent starter, obviously. He has a pretty solid record. I think he's 11-3 as a starter at Tennessee. And, it's looked good, led them to the college football playoff, all that good stuff. But do I think that he deserved a bump and is worth $4 million a year? I do not. Coach Josh Heupel, the collective, the athletic director of the powers that be, agreed with me, and kudos to them for saying no, James. Nico did not get his wishes. He was not granted a $4 million raise, and then he wouldn't show up to practice. And when he didn't show up to practice, Coach Heupel was like, "That's it, we're moving on." And he told the team they were moving on, and here we are. What did you think about this whole deal, James? What did you think about him asking for more money? And do you agree with me that Tennessee made the right move?
I'm not shocked he asked for more money, because it seems like everybody asked for more money. But it's at the end of the day, what Josh Heupel did really put a line in the sand, because let's say he did give in. Could you imagine what that locker room would have become? It would have been a freaking nightmare. I mean, honest to God, because now every other player is going to be running into the office asking for more money, and it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. I mean, Nico's going to end up somewhere. He's not going to end up at like some mid-major in Louisiana. He's going to be at some program, but I got to give Heupel credit, because you look back in his past. When he was at Oklahoma, Missouri, Utah State, even Central Florida, he's lost really good quarterbacks and really done well developing that next person to come in and take over the program. So I think Tennessee, I mean, even though it looks kind of bleak right now, I think Tennessee's really should have faith in what he has done in the past, because he's proven it time and time again as an OC, as a head coach, no matter where he's been. So
that's a great point. I love that you said that, because that is exactly what Josh Heupel said in his press conference yesterday. Of course, almost every question after the spring game was about Nico. And I think he told somebody he was going to give him money because they asked him about the actual game. But yeah, I mean, I understand everybody asking it, but that's exactly what he said. He said it when he was at Central Florida, they had a kid go down on the first day of practice. I think it was Gabriel, who got hurt on the first day of practice in the fall, and they replaced him and they moved on. You know, obviously this isn't an injury, but they're treating it like an injury. Like, hey, Nico's gone. He's done. He's not going to play for us. Next man up. Let's move on. And, you know, I think this sets a precedent not only for his team, but I think this kind of sets a precedent for college football as a whole, where other teams can be like, hey, you know, their quarterback asked for money down in Knoxville and he wanted $4 million raise, and they said no. And look, you know, they moved on. Maybe they didn't have the greatest season, but you, like you said, you have to draw a line in the sand somewhere. You can't just cave to, I mean, you got to ask. It's kind of like asking for a raise. If you don't ask, you ain't going to get it.
Yeah.
So I don't really fault the kid for asking. What I fault the kid for is then not showing up to practice when he's been on the team for this is his third year, and everyone's counting on him, and to just not show up, not even tell them that he wasn't going to show up. I think that's pretty piss poor. At least tell them, you know, at least have some communication and be a man and say, hey, I'm not coming. I'm not going to be there. I think it's best for me to move on. You know, that if that's what he decides, you know, more power to him. But you know, I think they're owed, after all they've given him. And what I mean by that is not only money, but platform. You know, they've given him a place to show his wares and to get his name known, playing in the SEC. And you know, I think the university deserved at least some communication. Don't you, James?
I do. You know, it was something that was said. It was yesterday I read it. I believe it was Reese Davis who put it out there. If I'm wrong, I apologize. But honestly, I think Tennessee should get some compensation for this, because, I mean, they made a 4-year deal with Nico in this respect, and now he just wants to hold out and thinking he can get more than really what's this contract worth, but nothing. And if he goes somewhere else, Tennessee should get some sort of compensation in rears for what happened here, because I mean, this was purely about money in this respect. There should be they should be able to hold his rights depending on where he ends up, where they get something from that new school. I mean, it sounds very much like the NFL, but I mean, that's the way this is being treated right now. And I think Tennessee does deserve something in return, because Nico did not live up to his contractual obligations.
Yeah, and that's where lawyers, you know, nobody likes lawyers until they need them. And that's where lawyers become very important here, because the language in these contracts, so to speak, become very important. Was it written that he had to be here for 4 years? Was it in the language that he had to play for a certain amount of time, or that this was, I believe that it was, based on what I'm hearing. And so I agree with you, you know, hit him up, get some money back and use that to move forward, because if he signed a deal and said he was going to be there for 4 years and then he didn't honor that, you know, then you want to get some of that cash back. This game is all about money now. And, you know, people can do whatever they want, obviously, but there's going to be consequences for your actions. And I agree with you. I think they should hit them up and get some money from his camp. And the other thing that I kind of thought was disgusting was, you know, when the rumors started circulating about Nico bouncing, obviously there was a lot of noise around here where I live in Knoxville now. And Nico's dad came out and was like, you know, this is ridiculous. You know, my son is sticking around here. And then he leaves the next day. And I'm like, why would you say that and you know, hit social media and run your mouth if that you weren't 100% sure he was coming back. You know what I mean?
Well, I've always found it weird when parents get involved in stuff like that too, as well. I mean, because then they want to be part of the story. It is, yeah. This whole thing's just become a mess. I mean, in all honesty, even if he wanted to come back now and say, "I'll finish out the rest of my deal,"
No,
you can't have him
no.
because I mean, you're setting a precedent for the future that someone else can pull the exact same thing. And don't get me wrong, Nico's a very good player, but you've got 104 other guys in that locker room, and crap could go sideways in a second. I mean, this sounds strange, but in some ways, I look at Tennessee in the same situation as a former guest on our show, and Darian Hagan. Salaseni passed away, and in the spring they tell him he's going to be getting the starting job, and knowing full well they were going to come back with a pretty loaded team with a shot at the national championship. And whoever that person, that next man up that comes into this, I think they've got to really hunker down and really put the blinders on everything on the outside because, even though there's a lot of noise out there, there's still a good quality team in that locker room that they could go after an SEC title.
Yeah, I don't know how good they are, honestly. I'm on the fence about this team just because, Dylan Sampson's gone. He was the SEC Offensive Player of the Year last year. He had set the SEC record for touchdowns, rushing touchdowns. He was a big chunk of their offense. Everyone that had a catch in their wide receiver core also gone. Brew McCoy and Dante Thornton are in the NFL draft. Squirrel White hit the portal. And so they don't have anybody coming. And their receivers weren't that good to begin with, to be honest. But they're gone. And, Cooper Mays, their captain, starting center for the last 4 years, whether you like him or not, he's been a mainstay. He's gone. Campbell's gone off to the offensive line. Javonte Spriggins is gone. James Pierce Jr., their 17 and a half sacks over the last 2 years. He's gone. I'm concerned about some of these departures. Obviously, every year you've got that. But, where does this team go? I'm not sure. It'll depend on what they do at quarterback. They've only got 2 scholarship guys at quarterback, which worries me. One of them is a true freshman who just got there. The other one is Merklinger, who I'll get your thoughts on him. But, where the team goes is a big question. The other question I've got for you, and the question I want to tackle first, where does Nico go? Me and you talked about yesterday how, I had heard that there is a rule in place that he cannot go to another SEC school in the spring transfer portal period. You can't go, I guess, in conference is what I've heard. And, Paul Feinbaum said that yesterday when he was talking about this. And I've heard a couple other people say that. So let's just say that's true. He's not going to go to another SEC school. They're not going to sign that waiver. Where does he go, James? And where, who might be in the market for him? And where do you think he might want to go?
Obviously there is a couple options sitting out there if all things were equal. Like you take away the noise. Ohio State would be a logical place just because Will Howard has moved on, and there's that void there at quarterback where no one really has stepped up and grabbed the reins. You could say Colorado because really what's going on in Boulder now that Shadur's gone. Another place, and I hear this name popped up, but I don't like it, is Oregon. Dante Moore, I think if Nico goes there, if I'm Dante Moore, I'm out. This kid is a real freaking talent. In all honesty, I would probably take Dante Moore over Nico. Those are 3 possible spots that he could end up. Um, God, I mean, there's Texas Tech. It's just got rolls of money. I mean, there's so many places. It just depends on what they want to do. But the problem is almost everybody has somebody penciled in at that quarterback position, unless they saw something in spring ball they didn't like.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the key, and we won't know that at all. I mean, no coach is going to sit there and come out of camp saying, "God, we really suck at quarterback." I mean, another possibility, maybe Notre Dame. I mean, Riley Leonard's moved on. If they do, it'd be the third year in a row. I mean, Steve Angel is projected to be that guy, but that could be a possibility too as well. But like a Michigan, I don't see Michigan happening at all.
No, they just paid $12 million for Bryce Underwood.
Yeah, I mean, if he was able to go in the SEC, honestly, Bama or Georgia would be a logical fit. I as much crap is going on in Athens, I don't know if it'd be smart for Kirby to bring him in, because it seems like Georgia's biggest rival right now is the police, with all the interactions they're having. And with killing DeBoer at Bama, I mean, it seems like they've been pretty set on Ty Simpson for some time after Milroe would move on. But
yeah, they're pretty high on their freshman too, and I don't think I really don't think he's going anywhere in the SEC. Honestly, Notre Dame, I think, really likes Steve Angeli. Angeli looked good when he played.
Especially in the playoff.
Yeah, and then when he got, I was going to say, when he got in 2 years ago in the bowl game, he looked really good. And then this past year when he played in the playoff, when Riley Leonard got banged up, he looked good. So I like Angeli. And then they've got guys behind him. They've got Kenny Minchie, who's a redshirt sophomore. They've got CJ Carr, who's a redshirt freshman. All three of those guys played yesterday in their spring. I don't know if it was yesterday, but in their spring game, I believe it was yesterday. And I watched, and they all three looked pretty good. So I think Notre Dame's set. Oregon, I could see. Just because they, as you mentioned, they've been, pulling the trigger on guys at quarterback quite a bit in the transfer portal with Riley Leonard and Sam Hartman. They've done that at Notre Dame. They've also done it at Oregon, like we were just saying with, last year, Dylan Gabriel, and then obviously the year before with the kid from Auburn. So Bo Nix. And I think, Oregon is a potential landing spot. But Dante Moore is there. They kind of, wanted him. If they didn't like him in the spring, like you said, then they could bring him in or just bring him in for competition. But this is you got to have the money. And then obviously you've got to, have the structure of, being potentially win now mode if you're going to pay the piper for this kid. So, I can't really tell you where he's a fit. I can tell you that I don't really think they're going to bring him in Ohio State. Stranger things have happened.
Yeah.
But I think they're in pretty good shape right now. They've got Tavian St. Clair, the freshman #1 player in the country last year. They've got Julian Sayin, who was the #1 quarterback the year before. They also have Lincoln Kleinholz, who some people like. So they're pretty stacked. I think maybe if he was available in the fall, they might have gone for him. But, Ohio State isn't in the business of just being the highest bidder on some of these guys, especially in the portal. They want to bring in guys that want to be there, and they want to bring in guys that, you play well, we'll give you money, but they don't want to play the Michigan game and just give out sacks of cash just for coming there. So, maybe Michigan is a spot. Hell, they did give him $12 million and Underwood to show up there. So maybe they'll pay Nico to come and play there and make the other kid learn. I don't know, but this will be interesting to watch, as we move forward in the spring and the summer, because, that window is only open for a certain amount of time. And I think the other factor that'll play into this is what other quarterbacks decide to bounce. Yeah. And, is there anybody better than him? Because right now, obviously, he's the biggest name in the spring portal. But, that could obviously change, right?
Well, I mean, there's two other schools while we're sitting here I'm like thinking about that could possibly be a player. They're not major players, but I look at it like Maryland. I mean, with Tua's kid brother moving on, that may be a spot where he could fit, or even North Carolina too as well, because we really don't know the health and viability of Max Johnson right now after he blew out his knee in the first game of the year last year against Minnesota.
Yeah, well, North Carolina has proven in the last several months that they're willing to spend cash, obviously, with bringing in Bill Belichick and then opening the checkbook on National Signing Day. So that is, that does make a lot of sense. And maybe he would hit there. Do I think he's better than Max Johnson? Yeah, I do. I think he's better than that.
Max Johnson's pretty good, but it's like he doesn't have that it factor, which Nico really has. I mean, possibly Florida State too as well, but I mean, you got the transfer coming in from Boston College. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I mean, those seem like the most logical fits right now. Is like the Tier A, Ohio State, Oregon, Colorado. Who knows? Somebody could pop up out of the blue like a USC for all we know. I mean, it's stranger things have happened.
Yeah, Tommy Castellanos is the kid at Florida State who played at Boston College, and he was disgruntled there, so he bounced out. I could see Florida State as a potential landing spot. They need to win. Obviously, last year was a absolute disaster.
Yeah.
2 wins after going to the to the bowl game the year before and potentially playing for a national title before their quarterback got hurt. So I could see Florida State, honestly. They tried DJ Uiagalelei. That didn't work. They've moved on. But, do I think Castellanos is a bona fide kid that can bring this program to prominence? No, I don't. I really don't. I mean, he showed some flashes at Boston College, but then he really fizzled out towards the end of the season. And I think Florida State, honestly, makes a lot of sense to me because it's not in the SEC. It is a program that doesn't have the kind of money that some of these other ones do, but they've been able to find cash when they need it, and I could see him going and playing for Norvell. That just seems like a potential landing spot for him. So anyway, done with the Nico talk.